Hey everyone, and welcome to the Cheyenne Hills Podcast, Verse by Verse. We know it's often hard to find time to spend studying God's Word, so we're happy you can join us as we read, unpack, and discuss Scripture every Tuesday and Thursday. We hope you enjoy the program.
Across the street and around the world, Cheyenne Hills.
Well, welcome. We're ready to continue on in Genesis here, starting at chapter 30 and verse 25, and I'm glad to have René with me again, and we're going to plod on here without Galen. We hope to have him back here soon, but we needed to make more podcasts for our viewers, and so we have René in the studio.
We're just enjoying going through the stories of Jacob here and what he's up to.
Yeah. So, okay, so starting at chapter 30, verse 25. Now it came about when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away, that I might go to my own place and to my own country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me depart. For you yourself know my service, which I have rendered for you." I mean, we know he's 14 years here already. But Laban said to him, "Now if it pleases you, stay with me, for I have divined that the Lord has blessed me on your account." And he continued, "Name me your wages, and I will give it." But he, Jacob, said to him, "You yourself know how I have served you and how your cattle have fared with me. For you had little before I came, and it has increased to a multitude. And the Lord has blessed you wherever I turned. But now, when shall I provide for my own household also?" And so he said, "What shall I give you?" And Jacob said, "You shall not give me anything. If you do this one thing for me, then I will again pasture and keep your flock. Let me pass through your entire flock today, removing from there every speckled and spotted sheep and every black one among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and such shall be my wages. So shall my honesty will answer for me later when you come concerning my wages. Everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and black among the lambs, if found with me, will be considered stolen." And Laban said, "Good, let it be according to your word." So he removed on that day the striped and the spotted male goats and all the speckled and spotted female goats, every one with white on it, and all the black ones among the sheep, and gave them into the care of his sons. And he put a distance of 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Then Jacob took fresh rods of poplar and almond and plane trees, and peeled white strips in them, and exposed them white, which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled in front of the flocks in the gutters, even in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink. And they mated there when they came to drink. So the flocks mated by the rods, and the flocks brought forth speckled and striped and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs and made the flocks face toward the striped and all the black in the flock of Laban. And he put his own herds apart and did not put them with Laban's flock. Moreover, it came about that whenever the stronger of the flocks were mating, that Jacob would place the rods in the side of the flock in the gutters, so that they might mate by the rods. But when the flock was feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's, and the stronger were Jacob's. And the man became exceedingly prosperous, and he had large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. So we see some more deception going on.
They just can't help it. Jacob and Laban, it's deeply rooted, that deception. Yeah.
Yeah. But the whole, he makes the deal. Jacob makes the deal with Laban, and Laban he takes it right up because he thinks he's going to get the better, because apparently the black and the spotted were less familiar or less popular, less populous. And so he says, "Oh man, this is a great deal." And let's go with that.
He's kind of snickering on the side, like, "Jacob, don't you know that doesn't happen very often, the speckled and it's kind of an anomaly." So it's kind of funny. Laban, he could have had an opportunity to be honest and say, "No, let's just split it out. Let's not worry about that. Let's just split it out." No, they both are trying to outwit each other with their own manipulation.
Yeah, and it just, Jacob does his manipulation, but ultimately it's God that brings about the blessing. But it's interesting that Laban, he makes the deal, and then he even has his sons say, "Let's move these 3 days away to make sure that there's separation and not intermingling of the flocks, and so that I'll get a bigger the upper hand on it. But it doesn't happen that way.
Right. God still determines to just bless and, enlarges his flocks and his servants and camels and donkeys even. So
Yeah, and the male and female servants, I found that was kind of interesting. It's like there hadn't been any mention of that, but
yeah,
that comes.
he acquires those as he, enlarges his herds and stuff.
Yeah, and so it comes down to the conclusion that Jacob becomes exceedingly prosperous, and Laban does not. So we'll continue then on verse 1 of chapter 31. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what belonged to our father, he has made all his wealth. So it's not just Laban that's complaining here, but his sons see their inheritance going away. And Jacob saw the attitude of Laban, and behold, it was not friendly toward him as formerly. And so the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent, and he called Rachel and Leah to his flock in the field, and he said to them, I see your father's attitude, that is not friendly toward me as formerly, but the God of my father has been with me. And you know that I have served your father with all my strength, and yet your father has cheated me and changed my wages 10 times. However, God did not allow him to hurt me. If he spoke thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flock brought forth speckled. And if he spoke thus, well, the striped shall be your wages, then all the flock brought forth striped. Thus God has taken away your father's livestock and given them to me. And it came about at the time of the flock were mating that I lifted up my eyes, and I saw in a dream, and behold, the male goats which were mating were striped and speckled and mottled. Then the angel of God said to me in a dream, Jacob? And I said, here I am. He said, lift up now your eyes and see all the male goats which are mating are striped and speckled and mottled, for I have seen that Laban what he has been doing to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you have anointed a pillar, and you made a vow to me. Now arise, leave this land, and return to the land of your birth. And Rachel and Leah answered and said, do you still have any portion or inheritance in our father's house? Are we not reckoned to him as foreigners? For he has sold us and has entirely consumed our purchase price. Surely all the wealth which God has taken away from our father belongs to us and to our children. Now then, do whatever God has said to you. So,
wow. A lot of strife and conflict, and but I mean, it's almost like we see the rest of the story now, that God really had a hand in what Jacob was doing. He was, again, like you said, we see future chapters, he's building the tribe of Israel through Jacob.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting that, boy, his daughters have turned against Laban. You know, they're like our father. And I don't know the cultural significance of it, but the fact that they mentioned about he has squandered our purchase price, or entirely consumed our purchase price. I mean, was that to be guaranteeing their retirement? I mean, a purchase price was to be set aside. I don't know. That's when something to do some research on it.
Right.
But they that was a negative toward them that say, yeah, he's done away with it. And so,
yeah, they had somewhere along the line, they recognized that he had squandered their wealth, their future. Yeah.
So they're 100% behind their husband, saying, let's leave. Let's get out of here. You know, we don't have any regrets I still want to stay here. It's like, let's get out of here. So we're down to Jacob now, and his wives everybody's committed. They're ready to leave. It's like, yeah, let's get out of here. So Renee, you were going to make a comment.
Well, it's just that when we look here, Jacob is like giving the rest of the story, how he had a dream and God had told him what to do about the speckled animals and the striped animals. And, we're just looking here that I think God was directing Jacob on how to leave the land and leave it prosperous. And no matter what Laban did or Laban's sons did, they couldn't sidetrack from what God intended to have happen. And to me, that is so encouraging that, as we look at our culture or as we have family difficulties, God is going to accomplish what he wants to. And not one of us can side rail God from what he's wanting to do in our lives and the lives of our country. And to me, this is just so comforting that God was just bigger than the situation.
Yeah. Boy, that's what a great application that we'll see the manipulations of and dealings of mankind, and you see people trying to bring about things of what they think should happen and manipulate a utopia. Let's, bring, if we can do this, and then everything will be great and whatever. And it's contrary to God's plan. And yet God is bringing about what he has promised. And we have that refuge in God's promises because he is absolutely sovereign, and nothing is going to thwart his plan and his direction of history.
Right.
About.
Right. Yeah. And so, God was determined to raise up Jacob and his family and get him out of the situation where they were at. And God did exactly that. So again, I think it's just really a cool promise of we can look at things on the human level and wonder what's going on. Someone like Laban is really powerful, and yet God is bigger than that.
Yeah. Great observation, great application. And just a real refuge for us in our daily life that there is a God who has made promises. He's absolutely sovereign, and nothing will thwart his plan and his promises. And we can cling to those. So we hope that's been an encouragement for us in our daily lives, that God's promises will be fulfilled. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to as we continue on in the book of Genesis.